Hello, in this video, let us make a sketch using intersects. And that means the place where our graph crosses either the x or the y-axis. So there are two intersects, the x-intersect and the y-intersect. The x-intersect is a place where the graph crosses the x-axis. How do we find it? Well, to find any point where the graph crosses the x-axis, what has to be true? Well, what has to be true is any point on the x-axis, let's say this one, or this one. Say this is 1, 0. And here's another one. Let's call this 4, 0. And here's negative, let's say 6, 0. Now, what is the same for all of these points is that the y number is 0 because the y measures the height. And if the height is 0, that point is going to land perfectly on the x-axis. So when we make an intersect, when we use an intersect method to make a sketch, we're in essence using a table with very specific values. So for the x-intersect, we use 0 for the y, because that's the only way the point is going to land on the x-axis. So for the x-intersect, y must be 0. Now, if I'm looking next, I will need the y-intersect. And for the y-intersect, that's a place where the graph crosses the y-axis. And all of these points would have 0 for the x coordinate. Let's say this is 0, 1, maybe 0, 3, 0, 4, some negative numbers down below. But all of them, every single one of these points has 0 for the x coordinate. And that's how we find the y-intersect. So to find the y-intersect, so here is x, here is y. To find the y-intersect, the x number must be 0. So this is the process. Let us try it on an example. So suppose I'm asked to make a sketch. So here is the question: sketch this graph. And the equation would be, let's say 4x plus 3y is 12. So we will use the intersect method to make this sketch. And so here is our table. First, we find the x-intersect. That means the y is going to be 0. Well, if y is 0, what does it mean? If this number happens to be 0, that means I have 4x plus 0, because 3 times 0 is 0, is 12. Or 4x is 12. To cancel multiplication, we undo it by division. So we divide both ends by 4, and we get the answer, x is 3. So this is our intersect. This is our x-intersect. Now, to find the y-intersect, we repeat the process, and the only difference is this time we plug in 0 for the x. So we begin with the same question 4 times, and then we plug in 0 for the x. The rest of the question is the same. Plus 3y is 12. And so 4 times 0 is nothing. 3y is 12, which means to undo the multiplication, we divide both sides by 3. That cancels, and we have y is 4. So these are the 2 points. We're making an equation of a sketch of a straight line. And for the straight line, we only need 2 points, and we have found the 2 coordinates. So our coordinates say that what we have is we have 3, 0, and we have 0, 4. These are the 2 points, the 2 intersects that we have found. So what does the sketch look like? So here is our coordinate axis. Here is our first intersect, which is the x. It was 3, 0. So 1, 2, 3, 0 is here. And the other one was 0, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be here. And if we connect these two dots with a line, that would be the sketch of our graph. Well, a little bit off. Let's do it here. So that's the sketch. And that's it. Now we could also use, if we wanted to check this, because if I want to use my calculator to verify my picture, I cannot do it in this form because my calculator, as you recall, has the y equals in it. So I cannot actually check my picture unless I rearrange this equation for the y. Let's do that and check the picture. So to solve for the y, let's begin with the same equation and we'll rearrange it to make use of the calculator. So we begin with 4x plus 3y is 12. And we are looking to have y by itself, which means y is going to be on one side. Right now it's tied to the 3y. And the x has to be on the other side. To cancel the 4x, we minus 4x from both sides. Since 12 and the 4x are not like terms, we can't really subtract them. All we can do is just write them that we are going to minus. So 3y is 12 minus 4x. To cancel times by 3, we divide everything through by 3, by 3, by 3. That's it. We have our equation solved for the y. At this point, I can plug it into my calculator exactly the way it is right here. So let's do that. And then we will simplify the equation and write it in the form that we are most likely will have to write it on the test or on the homework. So here, once again, here is our calculator. And let's type in exactly the way it is. Now, notice that both 12 and the negative 4x are divided by 3. So to have both of them divided, they have to be in parentheses. So the whole top piece must be in parentheses, like so. And then divided by 3. Oh, forgot divide. Divided by 3. And then when you hit the graph, that's our picture. And so here was the picture with the calculator, and by hand we see, even though it's not precise, this sketch is not precise, we see that both have negative slope, both seem to be crossing at about the same places. Here's 3, here's 4. Now I could check my table and see if I actually have the same points. So here's the first one, 0, 4. That's our y-intersect. And then the x-intersect happens to be 3, 0. That's right here. So we found both of our table values in the calculator. And that's how to make a sketch using the intersects. Sometimes, many times, when we sketch the straight line, using the intersect method will actually prove to be the most efficient because it's easiest to plug in zeros as opposed to plugging in some other numbers. So when we have a chance to use intersects, that often proves to be the faster method than using anything else. But sometimes when we are asked to use something else, our technology, if we're using technology for the homework, you have to be very, very precise. So if your math lab or Alex or whatever technology you're using, if that is asking for make a sketch but it doesn't say use intersects, that may work or may not work. If it says make sketch using intersects and we use just regular table without the zeros, it most likely will not work, even though the line that your table will produce will be exactly the same as if you used the intersects. But we have to make sure that we satisfy the conditions that we were asked of in the beginning of a question. So let us simplify this expression and write it in the slope intersect form. So if I was on a test, perhaps my instructor would have asked me to have my equation in slope intersect form, which is y equals mx plus b. So let's solve it. Let's rearrange these terms a little bit and get that answer. First of all, we notice that we're dividing two things by 3, which means we can split them up. we can write it as 12 over 3 minus 4x over 3. Of course, 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 3 does not go into 4, which means we just have negative 4/3 x. Now, in the slope-intersect form, the x is first, and the number is second. So we can say it's y equals negative 4/3 x, negative 4/3 x plus 4. So this is the same equation that we had, that we were given originally. This is the same equation written in the slope-intersect form, just in case we need it. And that's it for this video. Thanks a lot. Take care.